Welcome into another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. I am the Fat Guy. Most people call me Brett Mason. I answer to a lot of things. I'm so glad that you decided to listen today. Quick with the disclaimers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a doctor, not pretending to be a doctor, don't have any formal medical training. I'm just a guy that's been fat since I was 5 or 6. Tried everything possible. Finally, after years of trying to figure it out, I finally understand metabolically what happens to cause you to be a lifelong fat person. I've applied that to my life. I've lost about 125 pounds. Also, full disclaimer, I'm not there yet. I don't know how much more I have to lose. Could be 40, could be 60. Somewhere in that range is my guess. 100% confident I'll get there. I'm not concerned about how long it'll take me to get there. Could be fast, could be slow. So all these things are happening in my life. So this podcast is just me relating my experiences and what has worked for me. No matter what I say or how I say it, nothing I say in this podcast should be construed as medical or diet advice for you to take personally. That is something that needs to be worked out between you and a medical professional or in some kind of a more serious way than just listening to a podcast. People have listened to my podcast, applied what I say, and have lost weight. People have followed me on Snapchat, applied what I say and what I do and lost weight. All those things are possible. But just understand that anytime you change your diet, especially if you do it something radical, it's always good to have medical supervision. So I leave that to your hands. That's my recommendation. That's what you should do. You can follow us on those social media, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. Doesn't matter what platform you love, preferably all of them. Just add us. My username for all of them is Fat Guy Podcast. Fat Guy Podcast. So they all have different functions. Snapchat is where I share a lot of what I eat, share parts of my day. Instagram, I usually share weight loss updates or sometimes food and what I eat. Facebook is where everything goes. So pictures, there's a link to this podcast, videos I do. And Twitter is a place that's kind of left out there to just get copies of things that I post on Instagram or Facebook. They kind of show up on Twitter. So I'm not a huge Twitter person. Nevertheless, you can see a ton of the stuff I post if you follow me on Twitter. So today we're going to talk about this idea of radical change, this idea of, what causes you to lose weight, how to lose weight fast. How do you lose weight fast? Is it healthy? And how do you speed it up? And what are the different ways to lose weight? Okay. So most of the medical world, most of the health and fitness world will advise you to make moderate changes to your diet and do moderate exercise, and you'll lose weight. Now, that's a pretty easy thing to do, okay? Moderate exercise is easy to do. Moderate changes to your diet are easy to do. There's nothing hard about any of that, and it doesn't work. I don't know anybody, never to this day have I met anybody or saw anybody on TV or saw anybody on the gram or on the book or on the chat that has done that and lost 100 pounds. It just doesn't happen. I've seen people that have done it and lost 5 pounds. They usually wind up gaining 10 back. It's just not effective. It's a big lie. It doesn't address the underlying cause of obesity. It doesn't address the underlying cause of metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, or any of these things. It doesn't address any of that. It's basically a safe way for people to tell you to do something that in theory in your brain seems like it'll work, and they won't get in trouble because it won't be too bad for you. And that's actually not true. The fact that it not being bad for you is actually not true. Because you're not going to lose weight. Whatever little weight you lose, you will gain it all back, plus some more, and you'll continue this careening off the cliff health path that you're on now. So it really is not healthy. But it doesn't get anybody in trouble. Doesn't get anybody sued. Nobody gets anything, their hands slapped by the FDA or by the government. Nothing bad happens, and that's why everybody recommends it. Well, I'm just going to tell you right now, whether you need to lose 20 pounds or you're in a radical position like I was, you need to lose close to 200 pounds, You have to make radical changes to what you're currently doing. There isn't any way around it. So, look, there's a lot of radical things that will work. You watch Biggest Loser, right? That works. Doesn't work long term, but it works. You can extremely starve yourself into a super low calorie diet and stay in the gym 8 to 10 hours a day, and you will lose crazy amounts of weight. Now, you're going to ruin your adrenals. You're going to ruin your metabolism. You're going to completely wreck your body and all your stressors and stuff. And at some point, that's going to catch up with you. But it'll work. You can, there's these cutting macronutrients out. As you know, I advocate a ketogenic diet, which is cutting a macro out. Basically, you're cutting the carb macro out. But there's plant-based diets. I did one of those too. I actually lost a reasonable amount of weight on a plant-based diet, whole food plant-based diet. And you're cutting a macro out there. You're cutting fat out and a significant amount of protein, but primarily you're cutting all the fat out. So you can completely cut a macronutrient out of your diet and you can lose weight. It doesn't matter what you do. You will have to make a radical change of some sort. So that's step number one. All these people ask me how to lose weight, and then they freak out when I tell them they have to change things. If you could just not change anything and lose weight, you wouldn't need to contact me. You wouldn't be desperate for trying to figure out how to lose weight. So there's something everybody needs to understand. You need this in your brain. I needed it in my brain. We all need it in our brains, and you don't ever need to let it go. The food industry is designed from the tip of the top to the very bottom, from the highest to the lowest, to do one thing: to keep you addicted to food, to keep you eating more food, and to make it where it's nearly impossible for you to eat in any kind of a normal way. That is their business. People who make food aren't here to make you healthy. People who create food are not here to improve your health. They're not here to help you lose weight. They're not here to help you lower your blood pressure, to help you stave off cardiovascular disease, to help you preempt cancer, to help you with any of this stuff, to help you not get type 2 diabetes. They're not there for any of that. Now, I don't care what they put on their labels or what kind of smiling, healthy people running around eating their crap they put on the front of the box or the bag. I don't care what kind of lovely commercials they put on TV about how much they care or how this is heart healthy. I'm here to tell you that those people have one goal in mind: to get you to eat their food and to make it where you have to keep eating as much of it as humanly possible until you finally die. That's the only thing they care about. And I'm not making this up. There's so many different leaks and papers that have come out that have proven that this is what they do. They're no different than the tobacco industry was. They're no different than people who are selling cocaine on the street corner or selling crack. There's no difference. The only difference between people selling tobacco and people selling cocaine and crack and heroin, there's only one difference. There is no nutritive benefit to crack, cocaine, heroin, meth, or nicotine. There's no nutritive benefit to that. That is the only difference between those people and the people selling you this quote-unquote food. And yes, I'll put it in quotes because it's not food. So, let's say that some meth dealer, remember Walter White from that series? His name is escaping me. It's Unbreakable. What was the name of that series? Breaking Bad. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is what I was thinking. So Breaking Bad, Walter White, mad chemist, right? He made the best drugs, right? So let's assume somebody was even more brilliant than Walter White was in that show. And they invented black tar heroin, now with 9 essential vitamins and nutrients, and 220 calories per serving. Does that make that food now? Does that make it food because he did that? No, it's not food. He just added some nutrients to an addictive drug. So now here's where you make the connection, okay? And it's very important that you make this connection. Sugar is not a food. Sugar is a drug. Sugar is extracted, concentrated down into a powder form in nearly the identical way that cocaine is. Okay? Two different substances, both of them highly addictive, both of them highly charge the pleasure centers of the brain, both of them give you a sense of euphoria, both of them enormous health detriments. They are both drugs. Due to some heavy lobbying, friends in right places, falsified reports and studies and research, and a huge, massive move back in the late 60s and I guess early 70s, sugar got the federal government to deem it as a food. Sugar's not a food. Sugar is a substance that's extracted from a food, much like cocaine is a substance extracted from something you could eat. It's extracted, it's highly concentrated down into a super concentrated form that your body was never intended to ingest. It wreaks havoc inside your body. It is the precursor to everything that's killing us today. Okay? It causes metabolic syndrome, which is insulin resistance, which eventually leads to type 2 diabetes, which eventually leads to having your toe cut off or your foot cut off, extreme cardiovascular disease, you die by heart attack, or you die by stroke, or you get cancer. I would even go so far as to say, when you compare the detrimental health effects of sugar to cocaine, cocaine is probably less deadly. It's very important that you understand that. Now, you're addicted to sugar. They have been addicting you to sugar since you were born. Since the day you came out of your mother's womb and she started feeding you things other than her own breast milk, they have been addicting you to sugar. You can't taste anything without sugar and it tastes good. You can't eat anything without sugar in it and it tastes good to you. It's not because things don't taste good without sugar. It's just that you're addicted to it and you've been addicted to it over time since you were born. And so nothing tastes good to you now unless it's crammed full of freaking sugar. Can you eat things that don't have a ton of sugar on them and enjoy them? Yes, you can. Just like a crack addict can get off crack and enjoy life without crack, you can enjoy food without sugar. But you have to break the addiction. And there's several different ways you can do this. They range from mildly extreme to extreme, or varying combinations thereof. Let's start with the most extreme, okay? And let me reiterate, I'm not a doctor, nor am I giving you diet or medical advice right now. I am only relating an opinion to you. Let's start with the most extreme. Fasting. Water only fasting. The only substance you put in your body is water. Well, how long, you're asking? Well, 3 to 4 days seems about the minimum to get any kind of relative benefit, and you will start seeing benefits at 3 to 4 days. Autophagy starts kicking in. Your taste buds start changing. You've eliminated a certain amount of waste. You've entered a pretty nice level of ketosis. So this is a 3 to 4 day mark. Coincidentally, 3 to 4 days are the hardest days to fast. Okay? It's no coincidence. You're coming off caffeine. You're coming off sugar. You're coming off all kinds of other crazy substances that you've been putting in your body. No, it's going to be crazy hard. Not only that, these false hunger signals that this crap food you've been eating are going to continue to signal you on a regular basis that you're starving and need to eat, when in reality you're not starving and you don't need to eat. Okay? You just don't. But your body's going to try its best to convince you do, because you're addicted. You're addicted to garbage food that has screwed up your leptin, your ghrelin, all this stuff. So that's the minimum end of the extreme on the fasting. The extreme is 20, 30, 40 days, which I have personally spoken with and also watched the stories and things on many others who have done this. And it's life-changing, and it also happens to be a goal of mine. Now, I've done 7 days. 7 is the longest I've done. I started feeling amazing about day 4, especially into day 5. Incredible. And your taste, everything about your taste changes. Suddenly you can eat salad with no salad dressing on it, and it tastes good. You're thinking there now, well, eat salad without salad dressing, it'd be horrible. Well, it would be horrible now because you're addicted to sugar. You're a sugar addict. You're no different than a heroin addict. You're no different than a cocaine addict. You're no different than a crack addict. You're an addict. You're addicted to a deadly, toxic, highly addictive substance. So there's no difference. However, if you break that addiction, you could thoroughly enjoy some salad without anything on it. Vegetables suddenly good. You can taste the sweet in lettuce. You can taste the sweet in a carrot. All right? Now, that's the most extreme of the extreme. A little bit less extreme, but still considered extreme by most, is radically removing sugar from your diet and eating what's left. Well, what's left is protein and fat, pretty much. What does this mean? Well, it's a diet of fat and protein. You're going to have some incidental carbohydrates that come from vegetables because you could still eat vegetables, green leafy vegetables primarily. Also things like cauliflower, broccoli, asparagus, etc. This is in addition to greens, lettuce, and stuff that would go in a salad. So other than that, it's animal products. It's going to be meat, primarily red meat. Red meat is the meat that has the of all the meats other than bacon, it has one of the best profiles of fat to protein ratio. And the best of the best would be steak, something like a ribeye. The cheaper the cut of meat, the less fat it has in it, which means you need to supplement with other forms of fat. Nevertheless, all those are good. Egg, the perfect keto food, perfectly balanced in fat and protein. It needs no other anything added to it for the most part. Bacon and eggs, one of the best ketogenic diets you can eat. But you're thinking that sounds good. I like bacon and eggs. Yeah, but you don't get toast with it, okay? There's no toast. There's no grits. There's none of that. It's just the bacon and the egg. That's it. You're thinking, well, I like steak. That doesn't sound like much of a diet. Sure, you like steak, but you don't get bread with it. You don't get baked potato with it. You're not getting mashed potatoes with it. You're not getting any of that crap. You're going to have steak and you're going to have some steamed broccoli with butter on it. Oh, God, that sounds horrible. No, it's not horrible. It's amazing. Freaking steak with broccoli with butter on it is one of the best things that I ever eat, ever. Well, that sounds pretty radical. Yeah, it's not quite as radical as fasting for 20, 30, or 40 days. It's pretty radical for most people, though. Well, why is it so hard to give up that sugar? Is it because your body needs it? No, your body doesn't need it. Your body needs very little glucose. Your body needs a very minor amount of glucose to run portions of the brain and to run a couple of other areas of your body. It's very little. It's something like, I've read different reports, but it's somewhere between, I think, 10 and 30, 40 grams of glucose a day. Well, your body makes that, but you don't need to eat that. Your body makes that just fine. So I tell everybody this. Have you ever heard the words essential amino acids? Essential amino acids. Well, amino acids are what? They're proteins. Okay? There are a ton of, I think there's 9. Maybe there's 9. I forget the exact number. I'm sorry. It's irrelevant. There's a number of essential amino acids that you have to eat. You must eat them to live and be healthy. There's no other way around it. Your body cannot produce them. That's why they're called essential. There are also essential fatty acids. These are fats. Why are they called essential? Because your body cannot make them. Your body does not have the machinery and the tools and the processing to make them. So you must consume them. If you want to be a healthy person, you must consume essential fatty acids. Now, let's talk about essential carbohydrates. These would be carbohydrates that your body needs that it can't make using its own internal machinery that the good Lord gave it. Oh, well, guess what? There are no essential carbohydrates. There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. Why? Because your body makes all the freaking carbohydrate it needs. You don't have to eat it. So, does this mean we never eat any carbohydrates? Well, along those lines of the extreme spectrum would be the carnivore diet, which is something I'm just beginning to explore. These people primarily just eat meat, red meat primarily, most all the time. They will eat some egg. I think they will eat small amounts of cheese. But primarily they eat meat. It's just it's an all carnivore diet. They do not consume vegetables. They do not get incidental carbs from greens or incidental carbs from broccoli or anything like that. There's a woman I follow on on Twitter, who has been a carnivore for going on 20 years. I follow somebody else who's been a carnivore for 15 years. They're extremely healthy. They're extremely active. They look, all their numbers that you can test come back great. But is that extreme? Yeah. Is it too extreme for you? Probably. It's too extreme for most people. The point that I'm trying to make in this podcast, and I hope that it hasn't eluded you, and I hope that I've done an adequate job of talking about it. You must make some kind of an extreme change if you want to lose 20, 50, 100, 150, 200 pounds. You cannot keep eating the crap that our government rubber stamps as being safe and that food manufacturers crank out in these plants using machinery that your mind can't even begin to comprehend right now to put this crap on store shelves and call it food when it's just nothing but highly addictive garbage. Now, does anybody believe there's healthy cereal? And I'm going to end this podcast with this because I want you to do something. Does anybody believe that there's healthy cereal? Well, there's an argument you could be made for whole steel-cut oats. Could be regarded as a cereal if consumed correctly. Maybe one or two other things. But as far as cereals that come in a box on your store shelf, it is near 100% garbage. It's near 100% sugar to be more exact. So I want you to prove this to yourself. Okay? I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to prove it for yourself. But I'm going to walk through a little bit of it with you, right? Just so you can get some kind of an idea that I'm not lying. But I still want you to do a test of your own so you can verify it for yourself. So the first thing that you need to know to do this test is that a carbohydrate is sugar. There's no difference between, on a nutrition label, if it says carbohydrate and it says sugar, there's no difference. It's all sugar. Carbohydrate is sugar, okay? The only difference on that label is where it says sugars, that's sugar that they added to it, okay? So the food that they put in there, you know, let's say for instance it was corn, which is in everything, by the way. They put freaking corn in everything, and don't get me started on that. Why do they do it? Because the government subsidizes corn, and farmers can actually sell it for less than it cost them to make it. Tell me how many things you know of like that in life. Well, food is the only one, because the government subsidizes it. So we have all this corn. What are they going to do with it? Well, they figure out inventive ways of sticking corn in everything all the time, primarily in the form of high fructose corn syrup. But no, that's not the only way. Any way they can put corn in something, they're going to put it in there. Corn is nothing but a freaking thing of sugar. It's just a heavy carb, heavy sugar thing. So if your food is based on that, your food is sugar. And then when you add sugar to it, you're just making it more sugar. So I want to be clear. Let's go back and understand this again. When a nutrition label says total carbohydrate, whatever that number is all sugar. That's all that is. Now, when you go down below that and it says sugars, this is the sugar that is processed sugar that we've talked about at the beginning of the podcast, that they have added to the sugary food on top of the sugar that's in the food. Okay, it's added sugar. Now you're saying, well, isn't some sugar reasonably healthy? Sugar that's bound up in fiber the way the good Lord made it is reasonably healthy and is nearly impossible to overdose on, and it doesn't affect most of the systems in your body because it's so hard to extract and digest that it drip feeds into your blood over a long period of time. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply to frankenfood. When they create some kind of frankenfood and there's a little bit of fiber in it, well, that doesn't mean the sugar's bound up in that fiber like it is in a vegetable. That just means there's fiber and sugar in this package together. It's not bound up like nature intended it. But if you wanted to go and give it the benefit of the doubt and say, well, let's consider fiber sugar is healthy, you can look at how much dietary fiber in there and assume that many grams of the sugar is healthy. It won't be much. So I know that I diverted there for a second, had a little bit of a digression. Here we go. One bowl, 69 grams of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes, a nutrition label. It has 290 calories, okay? So, thing number one, not only is it 290 calories, it's a bunch of that is fat. Just people don't understand that. But I digress. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong label. I'm looking at trail mix. I accidentally switched to the wrong label. Because I didn't think it looked right, because there isn't much fat in Frosted Flakes. It's all carbs. All right, so let's go back to it again, right? So you have 3/4 of a cup. So right off the bat, nobody eats 3/4 of a cup of cereal. Get you a measuring cup and measure out 3/4 of a cup of Frosted Flakes next time you eat it and pour it in a bowl, and tell me if that looks anything like what you normally pour. No, you eat at least twice that. Most people eat 3 to 4 times that. But just for the sake of demonstration, we're going to assume that their piddly little serving size is right, 3/4 of a cup. 26 grams of carbohydrates. 10 of those, nearly half, are added sugars. How much fiber is in the Frosted Flake? Not even a gram. It's less than a gram. Okay? Less than a gram of fiber in there. Now, here's where you're going to determine what percentage of that Frosted Flake you're eating is sugar. What percentage of it is sugar? Is it 50% sugar? 80% sugar? Is it 90% sugar? Is it 100% sugar? Well, you only need to do 2 things of this. We learned it in elementary school math when you started dealing with fractions. If you want to know what percentage of something that something is, you divide the thing that is by the thing that you want to know what the percentage is. Okay? In this instance, we will take 26 grams of carbs and we'll divide it by the total weight, which is 29 grams, okay? 3/4 of a cup, the serving size is 29 grams. So, we are going to take 29 divided by 26. So, let me get my nifty calculator open, clear it out. 26 divided by 29. It's 0.896. It's 89.6% sugar. A Frosted Flake is just, it's 0.4 away from being 90% sugar. So we're just going to call it 90% sugar. When you eat a Frosted Flake and it says on the front how much vitamins and minerals it's got in it, and how fantastic it is, and how healthy it is, and how it's a great way. No, you might as well open up your sugar bowl and just put your spoon in there and just eat the sugar right out of the sugar bowl. Because that's all you're eating is sugar. Now, I just picked Frosted Flakes, but I want you to do this. I want you to go into your cabinet and look at the crap that you eat. Look at the things that are in there. And if you don't think you're addicted to sugar, if you don't think you're a sugar addict, go in there and see how much freaking sugar that you're eating every day. How much sugar are you eating every day? It's probably going to blow you away. One of 2 things is going to happen. It's either going to blow you away or you're going to go into denial. Okay? That's really the 2 things that you see happen. Somebody will either deny that sugar is unhealthy, or they'll, make up excuses, or blah, 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 blah. I'm going to look at one more product with you, right? Just a good old plain 3-cheese hamburger helper thing. Now, this will pretty much apply to any of the hamburger helpers. Now, I don't think anybody's claiming that hamburger helper is healthy. But what I do think is if you asked most people what percentage of hamburger helper was sugar, I think that you would probably find out that nobody would guess that it's as high as it is. Nobody would dream that it's as high as it is. And I'm going to just tell you right now before I give you the number. Hamburger helper is only slightly less percentage sugar than freaking Kellogg's Frosted Flakes are. Okay? So, serving size, which they say is 1/3 a cup, okay? Or it's 1 cup prepared. Nobody eats 1 cup of hamburger helper. Every time I used to eat hamburger helper, I would single-handedly eat about 1/3 to 1/2 of it right by myself. Nobody is eating 1 cup of hamburger, and that ain't that much hamburger helper, but nevertheless, I digress. We're going to go what they say their serving size is. has 23 grams of carbs, okay? How much fiber is in there? Less than 1 again. Ain't no fiber. Why? One of the key things to them making this food that you buy, quote unquote food, it's not real food. One of the keys to them making this food, you wonder why food stays on the shelf so long? You wonder why you don't have to refrigerate all this crap? Because real food, you have to take care of. Okay? For the most part. Because they suck all the fiber out of it. There's nothing left but sugar. Sugar is sit on the shelf forever as long as the ants don't get to it. That's why it sits on the shelf forever, because it's freaking sugar. I'll digress again. 23 grams of carbs in a serving Hamburger Helper, which is 32 grams. So I think you can see where this is going. 23 of the 32 grams is sugar. What does that work out to? Whip out the calculator. 23 divided by 32. Hamburger Helper is 71.8, so we're going to call it 72. Hamburger Helper is 72% sugar. You might as well get the freaking sugar bowl, save you some money, avoid all of the pomp and circumstance of having to cook crap on the stove, put it together, heat up the house, waste the propane or however you cook, electricity, whatever kind of stove you got. All these extra trips forget all that. Put you a freaking bag. Just get a bag. Don't even put a bowl. Just go ahead and get the 10-pound bag of sugar. Plop it right up in the middle of the table. Everybody grab a spoon, dig in and eat it until you're full. There's no difference. There's literally no difference. When you have an extreme addiction, when your body has been ravaged by a toxic, deadly substance like sugar, and it has ruined the endothelial lining of your arteries so that your body is rushing cholesterol there to try to save you from dying. And yes, that's why the cholesterol is there. That's why the plaque is there. The plaque isn't what's killing you. The plaque is rushed into your arteries to try to save you from dying, from all the damage the sugar did. That's why now we're like, oh God, I got to start taking metformin. I got the type 2 diabetes. That's not a disease. Type 2 diabetes isn't a disease. A disease is something that attacks you whilst you're unaware. Type 2 diabetes is what we did to ourselves. I'm not judging you. When I started this, I had just been diagnosed with pre-diabetes. Same thing. I'm going to tell you this. By the time you're even diagnosed pre-diabetes, you've already been diabetic for a long time. It just hadn't got to the point that you're going to have to start medicating. It means you've been insulin resistant for a decade. It means your body hasn't processed glucose right for a long time. And I know this has grown long. We're 30 minutes in now, 32 minutes in. I apologize. But look, I'm passionate about this. And it's important that you understand two things. One, that you've been lied to. Everything that you eat is a lie. Every commercial you see about food is a lie. And everything that the government tells you about food is a lie. And I'd say pretty much depending on who your physician is, everything they tell you about food is a lie because they were lied to. That's number one. And number two is that radical change is necessary to heal your body. It's not about losing weight. Look, if you will heal your body, if you will do what's right to correct what's gone wrong inside you, you'll lose the weight. It's not about losing weight. Let's heal what's broken. Let's get off the addictive substance, okay? That's like saying, how do I deal the crack addict from having the withdrawal symptoms and the deep DTs and the profuse sweating and the throwing up and all that stuff? Well, heal him. Get him off of it. Let him power through it. Once he gets through and gets it out of his system, he'll be fine. Look, you can't message me and say, I want you to help me lose weight, but there's no way I could give up my bread. Well, if there's no way you can give up the bread, then I can't help you. It happens to me literally all the time. Two things happen now lately, because I can't help anybody else for free. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm helping so many people for free. I can't. I don't have that many hours in the day, and I need money to live on like everybody else. So that's the two things I get. One of them is, I'm not giving up my pizza crust. Well, I can't help you then. I'm sorry. If you're going to continue to smoke the crack, I can't help you get off the crack. I sure would love to try that diet. But I ain't giving up my pasta now. I love pasta. I got to have it. No, you don't have to have it. Nobody has to have pasta. Pasta is not an essential vitamin, mineral, nutrient. It's not even good. Take a piece of pasta and eat it and tell me how good it is. It's crap. It's garbage. It's sugar. For most people, the stuff you put on the pasta is the good stuff. Leave the frickin' pasta out and make your pasta dish with everything else that you normally put in it. That's what I do with pizza. Look, I can't even begin to tell you how much I love and care about people that are overweight. It's been my entire life. And I'm so moved by people and I want to help people. But at the same time, I've been where you are. I've been in that state of denial where I wanted to lose weight but didn't want to change anything. I wanted to lose weight but didn't want to give up anything. I wanted to lose weight but didn't want to make the change. I didn't want to radically change my life. The life you are leading now has made you fatter every year. You get fatter every year. Name a year that you didn't get fatter. That trend will continue until you're in the grave. You have to do a radical intervention. You have to get off the cocaine. You have to get off the crack. You have to get off the black tar heroin. You got to get it out of your diet. You got to get it out of your mouth. You got to get it out of your body. If you'd like me to help you, I will be more than happy to help you personally. Now, you can ask me questions. Look, if you have a question about something, please. If you're trying a keto diet, you're trying your best, doing everything you can, and you have a question about something, message me. I'll answer back and try to help you as much as I can, as quickly as I can. But if you want me to work with you, if you want me to help you guarantee your success, if you want me to hold your hand from day 1 to day 30, so that at the end of the 30 days, you know how to own this. Yes, I'm going to charge a fee, but I'm happy to do it, and I think it's reasonable for what will happen for you. All you got to do is shoot me a message. You can shoot me a message on Facebook. Just find the Fat Guy Podcast page and shoot me a message. Or if you're already friends with me, my Brett Mason profile, you can shoot me a message there. You can shoot me a message on the Gram. You can shoot me a message on Snapchat. All those usernames are Fat Guy Podcast. And we'll work it out, okay? You'll have me unlimited. That's what I do when I work with somebody. You get me unlimited. You can call me at 9 at night and send me a text at 2 in the morning. If I'm up, I'll answer it. You know, it may not be up at 2. I may not get it till 6 or 7 the next morning, whatever. But as soon as I get it, I'll get back to you. You have me unlimited. We'll work you through it. This podcast turned out to be really long. I think it's important. That's why it's so long. It's not one of those short things with quick little... it's long. I just felt like it was important to go long. You need to understand why you are damaged. You need to understand why your body doesn't work right anymore. Love you, mean it. Thanks for listening. You can download the podcast app for this. Now, my podcast is hosted through a company called Spreaker. They have an app you can download, the Spreaker app. It's just like speaker, but there's an R in there, Spreaker. Download that app. Search for Fat Guy Podcast. There's millions of other podcasts on there, but mine's on there. And you can favorite it and follow it, and you'll see all the old episodes and any new ones, okay? So you can do that. If you already are a podcast person, you know, and you already use a podcast app or whatever, we're in the iTunes and we're in the Google. Just search for Fat Guy Podcast. And then follow us on all the social media. Username Fat Guy Podcast. I hope that I helped you in some way. That's my goal. My goal isn't to beat people up. My goal isn't to make people feel stupid. My goal isn't to make people feel uneducated. My goal isn't to make people feel overwhelmed. My goal is to help you, and I hope that this podcast did.